I am so glad to see you, my friend. And I'm so honored to have you on. I see that Kelly's on and Joe's on. And so, Christina, my friend, glad to see everyone on. Karen Sharp, it's good to see you. Patrice, expect another 10, 15 people over the next minute or two. I think realtors all have a set schedule. Hey, Anthony, seems like at 10:30, and everyone jumps on shortly thereafter. But so without further ado, I'm so honored to welcome my friend and respected leader in the marketplace. And Patrice, that's the reason why I have you here. Because I think for me personally, respect is a huge word. And I'm so blessed that many would say the same about me, and I definitely say the same to you. When I think of you, respect is the very first word that comes to my mind. And so, with that, we're anxious to hear whatever you've got on your heart today.
Well, as I said before, I'm honored that you asked me, and I'm suffering from imposter syndrome today. So I'll talk. I told you I'm going to talk about what I know. So don't ask me this, that, or the other. But good morning to you and everyone else who took the time to jump on here. But I've watched the previous, some of the previous interviews, and they've been wonderful, very helpful, and heartfelt. So again, I appreciate it.
So let me just start by asking, how are you doing and how are you feeling?
I've been great. Past few days, but I've been pushing through. So thanks for asking.
Good. Well, then we won't belabor that at all because we're strong, we're resilient, right? We're fighters, and
Right.
this is what we do. So,
exactly.
Okay, all right. Enough of that. Let's rock. What you got for us today?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the passion that I have for real estate and have had it since like I mentioned on the bio, since I was a kid. And I think a lot of agents that I speak to have an intention of creating a legacy for whatever their why is. And I'd mentioned, I have a question about how dynamic is your why? Because I see a lot of people just arbitrarily pick a goal or whatever their why is, but in my opinion, it needs to be dynamic and achievable enough so that you can reach it. Otherwise, it's just a dream dangling out in the atmosphere. But what I like about Bold is when you set intentions and then you write that letter and they mail it to you the next year, and you can see how much closer you are to achieving it. Even if you haven't reached the goal yet, at least you're moving toward it. So make your why in achievable steps so you don't get frustrated and just drop it and lose your focus about that.
I like it. And I just received my letter about, I don't know, it feels like less than 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Yes. So I'm that crazy person. And for those who haven't experienced it, it's a high level training class that we have here. And I've now taken it, I think this is my 15th time.
Oh my God.
Yes, 15, right? So when I get those letters back and I see what I've achieved when I write it to my future self, more times than not, I've accomplished at least half. One year, I damn near finished everything on the list, but this past year, I finished about 40% of it. So I was thrilled with that. And again, we're moving in the right direction. So
great. And I wanted to move on about agent to agent referrals, or not just agent to agent referrals. You get referrals from your sphere and all of that. That is where I have seen the most incredible things happen, at least in my business, and I sometimes see it in others too. But social media plays a big part in how we do business with agent referrals versus back in the day when you and I, had started. And you were just arbitrarily finding somebody on the computer and then calling them up, not knowing, who they are or anything like that. But with the influx of the social media aspect, it brings people closer. It makes the world smaller. And it's a way of connecting with people and getting to know them a little bit by their social media input and profiles and things like that before you contact them or reach out to them. But my process, so to speak, is to connect with 5 agents per day who I don't know. And I kind of, pick some states that I don't have a referral agent for, or even if I do, I just want to meet some new people, and I'll pick 5, call them. Yes, I call. Sometimes they do not answer, but sometimes they do. But I have just a quick conversation with them, introduce myself, let them know why I'm calling, and we chat a little bit. And the conversation, I had one the other day, it turned into over an hour and a half with an agent down in Baton Rouge. And it was just like I'd met an old friend. And so that was really neat. And another agent had referred her to me. But it becomes this 6 degrees of separation, and which leads me into that process, or the acronym FORD: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Well, I take the D off at a F, because in Dallas, everybody here, for the most part, is from somewhere else. And my lead-in question to them is, where are you from? So it's an icebreaker for me. And it gives us, gives me a lead in to expand the conversation and just to make a connection with that person. So back when I'm on the phone with a new agent, I have met people who knew other people that I knew. Sometimes the people have turned out to be related to me, which was awesome. And it's just magical to me. And after the conversation, I make my objective is to go ahead and close the loop by sending a handwritten note card to their office, or whatever address I have for them, if it's not an agent. But like I said, it's magical. I've met some wonderful people, and a lot of them are just like family to me. And there's a loyalty there that you just can't create off of a cold lead or something like that. But it's and with the client and the sphere, I have one for agents and another one for my own personal sphere. But I check in with them. I'm bad about checking in with my past clients and things, but I check in with my agent network, because I interact with them a little bit more often, even if it's on social media, and I don't get to see them until family reunion, if they come. And many of them are outside Keller Williams, so I don't get broker specific with this either.
And we shouldn't, because family is family.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm so fortunate that we've got a number of folks on this call that are not with Keller Williams, but I'm like, who gives a damn? I mean,
right.
they're all part of my real estate family, period. Right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's all good. Well, and again, I'm anxious to see you at family reunion, because I know
I'll be there.
So, right?
I never miss it.
No. And I think you touched on something that, again, when I think of you, there was so much engagement on the post from not just the BRN, but some of the other platforms that we posted this on, and there were a number of likes and comments, about joining in. And I think that's due to the respect that you have across Dallas, Fort Worth, and abroad. You mentioned your agent network, right? There's so many people who know you, and I think what you and I both know is it's very difficult to succeed in this business if you're a secret agent.
Right. Absolutely.
You are not that. You are not that. So,
and I kind of have to shake the new agents a little bit. I call them my grasshoppers, and I have a few. And I don't put myself out there to be a coach. My goal is to show them real estate can take you places where you never knew you could go. Amen. And sometimes it's just a conversation. And I've gone on listing appointments, didn't get the listing, but at least, I made a connection or learned something from the prospective client. But my goal is to enjoy the business and have fun. I don't like having a lot of stress, and the business is wonderful. And I tell people, Keller Williams or whatever brokerage that you're with, if it has an international arm, then you can do international business, or make that a goal, because like I said, the world is smaller, and I've only had listings outside of the country 4 times, but having the kind of international mindset within your business, you can possibly market that client's property internationally and let them know that, where, if you're competing for a listing, then throw that in there. And it's not disingenuous, but it is true if you have a lead in to marketing that property international.
Well, you probably weren't prepared to speak on this, but I'm so interested, and I think it was a great segue into your involvement, your ownership outside the country. So speak on that briefly. And what is it? Is it the Dominican, Punta Cana?
Yeah.
There's something there. Tell me about it. I don't know, but I'm like, I know you're involved. So
yeah, I affiliated back in August of last year, I think, with Keller Williams Punta Cana, and I connected with a broker there and another broker, and they were doing. They kind of partnered up, and I've known both of them a while, especially the other broker other than Cheryl. But when I saw that those two had connected, I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be a powerhouse. So they started doing investment tours every month. I went down for a couple of times, and what's going on down there is phenomenal. And my focus has always, I like the Central America and the Caribbean, but my focus had been on Belize. And when I saw what is happening in Punta Cana, I thought, oh, I need to get involved with that. And the Minister of Tourism right now is just generating so much interest and focus on the whole island. But Punta Cana is kind of like, the place to be, quote unquote. But the North Coast up in Puerto Plata is wonderful as well, a little bit slower, but the beaches are beautiful all over. And the only thing is, it's a language barrier, but, people speak English there, or you have Duolingo or whatever, so you can get around. But with investors trying to get multifamily or whatever here in the States, it becomes a challenge. Sometimes it's exceeding their price point. So we had a development down there where I had bought into as well, that we created multifamily, 4plexes, 6plexes, or whatever. Some people bought a whole building of 6 condos. Some people bought a quad, and others bought a duplex. I did just a single villa, but the energy down there is just wonderful. And I think in a while, the prices are going to start going up and then knock some of us out of the market, even up there. But phenomenal growth in Punta Cana. And it's starting to kind of bleed out into Miches and other areas an hour away, because people don't want, all of the traffic that's in Punta Cana. But the DR is known for the beaches. So if you want beautiful beaches, that's the place.
Wow. See, again, when I hear that, my mind goes to think big, right? Think outside your 4 walls. Think outside Plano, North Dallas, Carrollton. If you just think big, because I think we live in a world that is so small today, and sometimes we're only limited by this right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just know she's involved, and she's doing a lot of work down there through relationships. And again, you had touched on something, and I'd heard it said, I wish that I created the quote, but relationships can take us places money can't, right? And
Absolutely.
I think you're a shining example of that. So
well, thank you. I appreciate
absolutely.
that. But one thing I wanted to mention, when like my why is creating a legacy, and it's always in the forefront of my mind. And I was telling my oldest daughter, what I'm doing down there is going to be for them. If they want to go on a vacation, they have a home that they could stay in, or when it's not occupied, it'll be a short-term rental. And I know in the States, a lot of the cities are starting to crack down on investors, and and slowly but surely, it's cutting into an investor's portfolio, where in the past it had been a really good money generating asset. But you make more money that way potentially. But if you go just traditional rental, then that's not what your goal was, and you have to kind of pivot. But that was another reason why I was looking outside of the country as well for a short-term rental. But if you want to do that, my advice is to know what your goal is so that you look in the right location. Because you can get a $50,000 2-bedroom condo down there, but if it's not in the right location, closer to the beach, you may have to end up just doing a traditional rental to someone local there versus, a tourist. But just know what your goal is. Don't buy blindly just because, people are bragging about they have this or that. Their goal may be different from yours, or their budget may be different from yours. So that's my advice for just purchasing in general.
Again, thank you. Thank you. As we, as we conclude, is there anything else that you want to share, or maybe it's something that I'm not even thinking. I didn't ask you. Is there a little known secret, or just anything? Just anything.
I think the only thing that stays with me I wanted to talk about is when I was smaller, I used to watch certain relatives in my family. And my mother is my greatest inspiration. She started from picking cotton in Oklahoma to when she retired, she was inspecting aircraft. But watch people in your family, or pick a mentor, a secret mentor, I call them. And I had my millionaire next door aunt and uncle who didn't have children, spent a lot of time with them. They had a huge portfolio. And when they passed, it was still huge. And their portfolio, I believe they started it back in the early 50s. And a lot of their property was so far out in California, they bought up in Lancaster or Palmdale. And now, a lot of people are living up there, and their easements paid for the property because the utility companies would pinch off a little bit for an easement and send them a check. But and then I had an aunt who didn't finish high school. I don't even know if she went past the 6th grade, but she had a portfolio as well, and just did it by having a janitorial service. And so don't pigeonhole yourself into, just thinking millionaires look a certain way, or they, operate in certain circles. Sometimes you have one in your family and you don't know, or maybe they carry themselves in a way that that you connect with, that that you can emulate or use some of those attributes at a later time. But it's just watch people, and somebody's watching you as well. But just creating that legacy is kind of what I'm patterning my life after. And when you get older, you think about it more. And so you want to leave something, if it's a charity or your family or not, or whatever. We're in a business where, the business comes to us and we see houses and property, commercial buildings, whatever, every day. And we don't take advantage on, maybe you could buy it, or something like that. Just negotiate it in a way that maybe it's achievable.
I love you for sharing that. Again, I heard legacy, and I think that, when you're our age, my buddy Steve, who's next to me on the screen, we talk about it. It feels like every week, right?
Yeah.
And
it's staring us in the face.
It is, and I'd say respected legacy. I always put respected there, and I think that's how we started the call, because that's what I think of when I hear your name, when I see you. And I know Steve is working hard. Steve, it's not is it Central America or is it Costa Rica? I forget. But Steve and his family, they're working on like a whole family compound down in that area. So we are seeing so much of investment happening outside of, the United States, because there's opportunities all over. And again,
absolutely,
we'll circle back to think big, think broad, right? And especially even with our business. So, sweetheart, I thank you. I thank you for sharing a few minutes with us today. And guys, every week I say it. I thank you for joining in. And that's why we try to keep it brief. I bring the meat every week because you know what? We're busy folks. Once we get off this call, I know we've got appointments, we've got clients to reach out to. We've got folks who need our services and what we bring to the table. So I'm just appreciative each and every week when I bring the meat. And Patrice, thank you for bringing the meat this week.
Thank you, Ben.
Absolutely, guys. Be sure and chime in next week. I think we have 2 or 3 weeks before we head to Anaheim. I'm not sure if there's a conflict that Tuesday. If so, we won't be meeting, and I'll see some of you, many of you in Anaheim. I look forward to it, and let's go make it a great day. We'll see you guys. Thanks again, Patrice.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks.